Well, Southern Miss coach Charles Huff knows what's coming from Mississippi State's roster flip to Blake Shapen's grit. He's bracing for a Bulldog possible beatdown. Let's break it all down.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got more game week coverage for you to talk about today. The Athletic released who they think the three rivals will be for every SEC team. That's something we talked about a lot last week. The Everydayers will remember those conversations. We'll also update you on recruiting for football. But first, we got to start with Coach Huff, Southern Miss's coach, Charles Huff. He did his weekly press conference, and he talked about Mississippi State. And obviously, he said a lot of the good things that you would expect. You know, it's a huge challenge. It's a really good football team. He even said year two, they've invested $15 to $18 million into new players with the new revenue sharing model. And he said Jeff Lebby has a phenomenal coaching staff. Just a lot of the stuff that you would have expect from them. But Landon, was there anything that caught your attention by what he said?
One thing that really jumped out to me was he talked about Mississippi State secondary. And that is an area that we have discussed at length that outside of Isaac Smith kind of concerns us a little bit. We're not really sure what it's going to be. And he was like, I think the athleticism jumps out when you look at their size and length. This game of football yields itself to big athletic people. The more of those you have, the better opportunity you have to be successful. He says it's going to be a challenge for us, that they're very headsy players and they're not asking them to do a lot of things that they are not capable of doing, which is allowing them to play a lot faster, which, I mean, that's big. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, that there was a lot of question marks going into that secondary, and that the first opponent you're seeing is going, no, that's part of the defense that scares me. That's what we're going to have to watch out for, is what's in that secondary. So, I mean, I think that's a very positive sign.
Yeah, and you always wonder what is coach speak and what is their actual opinion. I think it was Tom Brady talked about how in a press conference he used to always hype up the guy that he knew he was going to attack. Sure. So he would be like, man, this cornerback, he's young, but man, he's so good. He plays physical. There's a lot of good things about him. And then he knew that's the guy we're attacking all game long. So you wonder what kind is that? But no, I mean, we've heard good things about the secondary in the offseason as well. And then obviously that was one of the positions that had a lot of oars. A lot of them did, but that one had a lot of oars. And so it'll be interesting to see what kind of shakes out from that position, what starting group runs out there, and then how well they perform against Southern Miss. I really was, we know Blake Shapen's a solid quarterback, but man, he had a lot of compliments to say. I mean, they asked him straight up about Blake Shapen. He said, he's a real dude. Obviously, he didn't play as much in the last weeks or so. He said, I've really started to dive into him, and he's a football player. He's tough. He's gritty. He said, just last night, I was watching him, and he got hurt in that Florida game and played another 10 to 12 snaps. That takes toughness. That takes grit, and it shows the type of leadership that he is, that he wants to be out there. I mean, he couldn't have said more praises towards Blake Shapen.
No, he really couldn't. And he broke down about his running a little bit. And he said he's not trying to slide. He's trying to get those extra yards. And when your quarterback has that toughness and grit, your team plays with it. And that's true. The problem is that's what leads to a lot of Shapen's injuries. So he needs to kind of learn to pick his spots. But
which we've talked about.
Yes. But if your quarterback is leading you like that and the team follows suit, you're at least going to be a tough, competitive team, even if your talent doesn't always match up, which in this case, you should have the advantage in talent. So that should be a very good sign for things to come. But he kind of said what we've said about Shapen. Good quarterback, very tough, can run a little bit and can make the throws. I mean, what he didn't say was, but he's not like an elite quarterback. He's just good across the board, plays tough.
Yeah, no, for sure. Another thing he talked about was what it takes to win big games against bigger opponents. And he was blunt. He said good players. and that he said that's the first one. And that's obviously true. He said we played extremely disciplined. We didn't make a lot of mistakes. I talked to the team about it all the time. We made our layups. The easy things were made easy. We didn't have a penalty of 2 guys lined up on the ball at the same time. We didn't jump off sides. We didn't have 10 run out on a punt team and then have to call the 11th guy. So now you're rushing. We didn't have guys busting coverage because we communicate. Once you make your layups, you give yourself a chance. I love that quote from him because that is so true. And that is something that should resonate with Mississippi State players as well, because there's going to be games, obviously, in the SEC where you're not the best team on the field. And you're not the most talented team on the field. And everything he listed is exactly what you're going to have to do to beat those good teams.
Yeah, you can't beat yourself. You're fundamentally sound. You take care of the little things. And if a couple things break your right, you're in that game with the chance to win it. Now, this Saturday, Mississippi State has to make sure they don't allow the lesser talented team to hang around by doing those things.
That's the key to me.
They have to be just as fundamentally sound because, yes, they're the more talented team, but they're not talented enough to overcome 8 massive mistakes in this game. So they still have to play very good football. You might be able to get away with 1 or 2 more mistakes than you would against some other opponents, but they're still going to have to be very, very sound.
Yeah, and how many times have we seen a team like early in the game against a team that they're not as good as at home, and they're just kind of going through the motions, and then through the second quarter, it's like, hey, we're still in it. And then third quarter, hey, we're really in it. And then fourth quarter, let's go win this thing. And then the crowd's behind them and everything's going crazy. Like,
honestly, it's like the Vandy Alabama game last year. I did not really start watching that game until the fourth quarter. And I'm like, Alabama will take it away. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, Vandy's going to do this.
And that's a real thing for teams. Like there's several times, and obviously there are sometimes teams go in the game like, hey, I really feel like we could pull this upset. But a lot of times they go in, they're like, we're probably going to get beat. And then they realize early on, we got a shot here. And then that's when they start getting momentum. They start believing it. The fans start believing it. Because fans go into the game with the same feeling a lot of times. We don't have really a chance here. And the next thing you know, you look up and it's a close game. So that's what you got to avoid. Like Mississippi State needs to start fast in that game, jump up early, and then hopefully take that big lead into halftime.
Yeah, that's what they have to do. And another interesting thing that Coach Huff said was, a lot's been made about how many players from Marshall followed him. And they asked him, was like, hey, you have this many returning starters. It's pretty much the same team. And he was like, if I was at the same school with all the same players, it's not the same team.
Right.
It's a new season. Once you achieve that, you have a new goal in front of you. So, yeah, you can take things away from what those players were, but it's a whole new situation. So it's not exactly the same.
Right. Those players have gotten better, maybe in a new environment. That's helped them out. You never know because, there's some people that are maybe homesick and now they're closer to home. And so that makes them play better. Also, just the natural progression. Then, obviously, you brought in other transfers from other schools and you can put them with the Southern Miss players that were there. Like, it is a different team for sure. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be – I just want to see this team come out and put their foot down early and say we are the better team and we're going to show you early. Because I feel like if they do that, this is going to be a good, big win. You can get some of the backup some reps, and then you can get into, obviously starting to prepare for Arizona State. But it's all going to have to happen by Mississippi State also can't beat themselves. I talked about how Huff talked about this is how we beat a better team. That's also how you don't get beat by a worse team. Do the layups, do the easy stuff. Don't make the dumb mental mistakes. And that's stuff that we saw last year over and over again, just dumb mental mistakes that hopefully, they've gotten that figured out so far this year.
Yeah, and I want to see them be better, like show they're significantly better on both sides of the ball. Don't just, win a game by outscoring them and they just can't keep up with you. Be the better team on both sides of the ball. And the last thing that I liked that Huff said was when he was asked about Isaac Smith, he just said, he's going to cause some problems on Saturday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably.
He knows, but the whole country knows. He don't feel bad. It's not just him. But all right, so coming up next, who could possibly be Mississippi State's 3 rivals? One of them surprised me. The Athletic released their list. We will talk about that coming up next. Well, most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. One of the really thing that is kind of surprising for a lot of people is you can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought. Monarch helps you notice an inefficient investment allocation and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. Also helped me when I figured out I was spending too much money on food delivery. A lot of us got into that groove, especially during COVID, and we just kind of kept it easier just to order something real quick. I realized I was doing that way too much, and so Monarch helped me out there. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. And the NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We also have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. Mm-hmm. And as you heard, when I brought up FanDuel, dog loves FanDuel apparently. Started barking about it. So yeah, she's been anxious today. It's been raining, so she hasn't been able to get outside as much today. But all right, so the Athletic released what they think could be the three potential permanent opponents for each team. For Mississippi State, they had Ole Miss, they had Kentucky, and the surprising one to me, but I think would be a really fun matchup every year, South Carolina.
Yeah, that's fun. And they talked about, this is a fan poll. They had, I think it was like over 2,000 submissions or something like that. So a whole lot of people. Mississippi State, so surprising thing for me on Mississippi State was, we got some, when we said we wanted to play Kentucky and Vandy, a lot of people were like, whatever. Well, hey, a lot of people want to play Vanderbilt. Of the people who submitted for Mississippi State, 30% wanted to play Vanderbilt, which was the fourth most of the people. So, I mean, hey, they're not alone. I do want to know who the 5% of people are that want to get rid of the Egg Bowl. Them.
We're not getting rid of that one.
It's an interesting list. And the thing I took away from reading the whole thing, going through all of them, was no one knows who their third rival is.
Right.
A lot of people know too. Outside of Texas. Texas knew what three they wanted.
Right.
That was it.
That's easy. OU, Texas, A&M, and then Arkansas was a long-time rival before, so it makes sense.
Yeah. They were the only one that had a clear top three. Everyone else was one, maybe two, and then who knows?
Yeah.
So, it's going to be interesting because we all know Ole Miss is sticking. I think Bama's going to end up being one of the other two. Just geographically, it makes sense. Right. But Alabama, Mississippi State fans voted for them 40% of the time, and I think Alabama fans voted for Mississippi State around that same amount. So, I mean, neither fan base is super excited about that matchup.
And I loved how a lot of people were like, oh, I don't like that easy way to get wins. In this new era of college football, who cares how good the opponents you play? That is out the window. That's what the college football playoff expanded to 12 teams did. And I love it. I'm not complaining about it. But now it's just about winning games. We saw that with Indiana last year. They played terrible teams. They won 11-1. The only team that they played that won more than 8 games was Ohio State during the regular season. They lost that game by a lot. They still made the playoff. Didn't matter. It is out the window on, I want these great matchups all the time. As a fan, of course, I would love to see these great matchups all the time, but that's not reality anymore. Now it's stacking up wins. That's why when we said that they would go to this 9-game schedule, a lot of teams would be wanting Vanderbilt. They would want Mississippi State. They would want Kentucky. And that Power 4 opponent, they want Rutgers. They would want these teams that they can stack up wins against. That's just the reality of it. It sucks. That's where it is. But that you had to take the pros and cons for expanding. I think there's way more pros for expanding than cons. But that's one of the cons is now because you have an expanded playoff, you're not going to take into account, even though they claim they do, the strength of schedule as much. It's going to be more about just stack up wins. They're going to take an 11-win team, Indiana, over a 9-win team, Ole Miss or Alabama, or a 10-win team, Miami. That's just how they're going to do it.
Yeah, you got to take your wins where they come. And like one of my favorite writers, Bob Sturm, always said, we don't apologize for wins.
Yeah.
I don't care who the opponent is, get the win. And like you mentioned it, with how many games are and how big the playoff is now and could grow even more, get as many easy wins as you can. And when you're a rebuilding team, there is no easy win. So we're talking about like it's a foregone conclusion. This rebuild is just getting going. But down the line, you think those are two teams that you can compete with year in and year out. But I don't know. It was an interesting list because Vandy got 30%, Arkansas 25% of the vote, LSU 25%, Auburn 15%, and A&M 10%. I found that one interesting.
Yeah. No, I think Mississippi State can get to a program level like South Carolina is this past year, where they can win 8-9 games and be competitive. And so that's why I think if Mississippi State gets to the level I think they can, that game would be a really fun one every year. That's why I think that, because I think that's kind of what Mississippi State can be as a program. And, maybe you have these years every now and then where you pop off, you get a young, great quarterback like they have, and they think they can make a playoff. And maybe that's what happens. But I think that's the kind of program that Mississippi State definitely can be in football. But it's going to take time to build it to get to there. So, you just got to be patient. But, all right, we got to give some updates on some recruiting. We'll talk about that next.
When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The Part Finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. So join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so we got to get to some recruiting news. There's a couple little nuggets out there. Noreel White, who is at East Mississippi Community College, he's a prospect, obviously JUCO ranks. Our starting to show a little more interest in him, so we're starting to see some more SMs on him. And if he has another big year, there could be a lot of other teams that go in on him. But yeah, I mean, he said recently that the Bulldogs staff is going to monitor how White kind of faces on and off the field this year at East Mississippi and see how that process goes this season. On 3 kind of feels like Mississippi State ends up wanting White in the class of 2026. And so we'll see what happens there. Malachi Zeigler is another one. We're still waiting on his commitment. Sounds like SMU is kind of the favorite, but it still sounds like Mississippi State is going to get him on campus a lot this season. So you just got to show that improvement. Even if he commits to SMU, show that improvement. And then if he ends up choosing SMU, Kingston Johnson is a name we've mentioned before that they could possibly shift.
Yeah, it does seem like the 2026 class, even though it's far from signing day, it seems kind of set. Like there's a few moving pieces we may see jump in here and there. And obviously we're still watching TJ White, but I mean, it's kind of a done deal almost. And you're just trying to keep everybody who's in the fold at this point. I was kind of looking to see if there are any visits scheduled out because, sometimes those are posted early. The only two I saw that are officially scheduled are two guys who were already committed. So doesn't look, those are the only ones that we know for sure that are going to be coming. Right. And that's not until November. So that could even change at that point. But I mean, there's some interesting names out there. Obviously, we're all going to be watching the Malachi Zeigler thing up until his name is on a paper somewhere.
Right.
So, I mean, it does sound like SMU is going to get first crack, but I don't, like we've said a million times, that's not when this ends. This ends a year from now when his name's actually on paper somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Right now, I'm showing 28 commits, 54 class in the country for the 2026. That's obviously where Noreel Wright is, whereas Zeigler is the 2027 class. So, like Landon said, even if he commits now, that doesn't mean it's over with him. And I don't think Mississippi State's going to start pursuing him. You can't stop pursuing your top target at quarterback. You just can't. Until he signs, you just can't. Unless he just flat out says, hey, I'm done and I'm moving on. I'm not going to respond anymore. You really just have to keep pushing forward. Now, that doesn't mean if he signs somewhere else, you neglect all the other quarterbacks out there because you got to find a quarterback. So you got to go look. And obviously we think Kamario Taylor will be really good. And we think Luke Hermanhock has a chance to be really good. But you need that next quarterback because Shapen's about to be gone. And so obviously Brody McCord, the 2026 class, Landon and I both really like. But yeah, you got to keep stacking quarterback classes because you need that room to be really, really good for a long time where you don't really ever have to worry. You don't have to dive into the transfer portal. Now, the transfer portal's there where if you have to use it, you can, but you don't want to be the team that lives in there, especially for quarterback. That's such an important position. You don't want to live in the transfer portal for quarterback. And obviously that's where they got Shapen. That's where they got Kromenhoek, but still you don't want to live in the portal.
No, you don't. In quarterback, you want to take one every year, pretty much. You just want to keep replenishing that, that well, because you never know what's going to happen with maybe someone gets poached from your room from the transfer portal. You got injuries, someone develops faster, someone develops slower, whatever it is, you got to keep stacking those quarterbacks. And one other name, I don't know anything about this guy. This is just me scrolling through 24/7, just seeing if there's anyone uncommitted. Apparently a corner named Sean Church Jr. They have kind of us and Virginia Tech as like kind of the two that they've listed as warm for. He's a 3-star, 6'3", 180. He just kind of popped up today on the list of people that seem to, maybe they're still kind of recruiting. So that's a name to look out for down the line. Maybe he's a guy that they're kind of looking to put a bow on this 2026 class.
Yeah, and that's one I haven't heard about either. So that would be obviously big if Mississippi State can pull that off. Maybe we haven't heard about it because he's such a Virginia Tech lead, so maybe that's why. I don't know.
The thing is, on 24/7, they do like the cool, warm. Well, Virginia Texas is warm. Mississippi State is warmer.
Huh.
So,
I
maybe heard him came in late, came in really strong on him, and now he's thinking about Mississippi State for real. We'll see. He just kind of popped up today when I was scrolling through to see if there's anything that I'd missed.
No, that'd be a good one for sure. All right, we have some exciting news. It's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts at College Football Preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Well, I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday, so check those out. We're also going to do a pregame and postgame, not full show, but just kind of a quick little short of, kind of what we expect for the game, and then obviously reacting to the game. So check those out on Saturday. That's when we'll post those. But yeah, football season's here. Hit that like, subscribe, ring the bell. That will really help us out on YouTube to get our following out there a little more. Hit our 1,000 subscriber goal by early college football season. So thank you guys so much for the support so far. And until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.